we begin with England and USA. It finished 0-0. This was an excellent game. I thought it was a fantastic watch. Nigel might disagree with me, and he'll give his comments in just a moment in time. But for any US soccer fan out there who had doubts about their players, the ability of their players, the confidence of their players, the spirit and determination, certainly was washed away, Michael Hood, with that performance, especially in the first half. I thought they were terrific. These are a young group of players who went out there with no fear and took on England pretty well.
Yeah, I thought one of the moments of brilliance, and it's a small detail, Walker Zimmerman, to block that Harry Kane chance early on, that was a difference. That sets the tone. You knew England was going to come out. It's like when you're playing a heavyweight fighter, you know that the favorite is going to come out and try and land the knockout blow from the first bell. But for the U.S., they withstood the pressure in the first 5 minutes, and then they settled into the game. And it was being patient. It was making England chase, not trying to hurry up the attack. And once that first ball got out wide and Weston McKennie gets in the box, man, I was sipping on a beer and I almost spilled it on myself just because I couldn't believe that they were growing in the game. And really the Christian Pulisic opportunity, it's just really professional performance from the U.S.
England were flat, lackluster, underwhelming, and just unenthusiastic. England were absolute poor. There's nothing I could say on this pod that these English lads are not going to face back in England with the scrutiny they're going to get from the press and the media. England and Gareth Southgate is going to get absolutely hammered. This falls on the feet on Gareth Southgate because for me, again, I'll get to USA in a second. But
look at that comment, Nigel.
What?
He said he just lost his house going. He lost his house going on the tip that England were going to smash him.
Listen, everyone thought England would win that game, but for me, Gareth Southgate has to take a big part of this blame. I think that for me, in my opinion, you look at the performance against Iran, yes, different game. It's group football. It's tournament football. You need to freshen up that team. There should have been some changes made from that team earlier on to play on the front foot, to be aggressive, to press and put this young team under pressure. But for me, they showed America so much respect, and credit to the US team because they played well. For me, this is the best game I've seen America play. And my man of the match, my fanboy, my favorite USA player for me now is Tyler Adams. That was an absolute captain's performance. That kid was phenomenal. He set the standard. He should be the poster child of US soccer with his performance. He was phenomenal. But for me, like I said, England were lackluster. England let this go, and I think they feel they can turn the switch on. And this is the problem with England. It's a bit of arrogance. And when they've played top teams, when they come across the likes of Spain, Germany, Brazil, Argentina, they fall short because they don't stick to what makes them good. And against Iran, what made them good? Attacking, free-flowing, direct. They couldn't get in behind this USA team. For what reason? They've got pace. You've got Raheem Sterling up there. You've got players with great pace. Why not isolate them in one-on-one situations and take them on? But it goes again sometimes where everyone wants to play this beautiful football, tiki-taki. The Spanish are the best at it. There's no denying. We're not the Spanish. Mix it up a bit. Be a bit more direct, a bit more old-fashioned wing play. There was none of that there. Everyone coming to the ball, no movement, slow, labored. But credit to USA. And for me, Tyler Adams was the main man for USA.
Listen, Tyler Adams was certainly up there, but Yunus Musa, for me, absolutely took this game to the next level. I thought he was freaking unbelievable. Obviously, Lucho, you cover him in La Liga so frequently. I want to get your thoughts on England, but before we get to England, you can even transition into England. Talk to me about this US squad, because you have been watching them for a couple of years now since you've been a part of the CBS Sports family. This was up there with one of the best performances from the United States boys. I mean, these are boys. These are not yet men. We're talking about 22, 23-year-old boys learning and really putting out performance against a very good England side today. What did you think of the overall performance from the US boys?
It was fantastic, Ian, to be honest. They dominated the whole center of the midfield. I mean, you're talking about that. I totally agree with Nigel, with Taylor Adams. It was magnificent. But the two guys next to him, they also made it also easy. Yunus Musa and McKennie, they were all over the place, wide open, trying to press what is the times. I think Berhalter was trying to overload of players in the middle of the park to try to not let Bellingham being on the ball. Is the key player for them. He's the one who have to turn and link with the players up front, and they did so well. But apart from that, they were the ones bringing the ball forward. They were the ones arriving in second line. They were the ones when they have to track back and make the transition in defense. I think they were fantastic. And you need to have that if you want to dominate the game and have chances to winning against England. And we are going to talk, of course, about England later on. But definitely for me, the difference was like that. you go into the midfield, you try, you battle, you fight with each other, and then you bring the ball to the ones up front. That today they didn't have many options. I think where didn't have enough balls, or Wright didn't have enough balls arriving, because of course you are playing against top centre backs, Stones and Maguire. They are top defenders. They did also a very good job, but you could see that there will be a moment where between Pulisic arriving also in second line, trying to find that spot, that gap. I think they were fantastic. So I was very, very impressed. They never lost the composure. The team looked very confident on the ball, and that's something that we were not expecting from such a young kids playing at the World Cup. I mean, against England. Yeah, very impressed.
BC2 jumping in with a comment here. He says, Mike, you're looking like a proud dad right now. What was missing from this performance, though, Mike, from the US getting a draw 0-0, from the US actually getting the 3 points? Because they looked to me incredibly dangerous. Obviously, when they went forward, they were free-flowing. But once they got around that penalty area, what seems to be lacking for me is that freaking killer around the box. Hadji Wright played well, don't get me wrong, but there's just not that killer. They don't have that finisher.
I think this was a game where if Gregg Berhalter, when you're a manager and you're 0-0 against England, you're in a match where people are telling you you're going to get smashed. In our group, lots of 3-0s. I even saw 1-3-1, and I said, forget about it. Brooklyn accent, emphasis on that one. This U.S. team, if Gregg Berhalter really wanted to push the envelope, he could have put the English and just put the sword right in them, because they were there for the taking. I think if that Josh Sargent sub, if Gio Reyna came on earlier, I think he was the type of player that would have excelled in this game. England pushing numbers forward late on once they brought in the likes of Rashford, Jordan Henderson. Shocked. We'll talk about England. Shocked with some of the players they didn't bring on earlier or at all in this match. But I think including the likes of a Gio Reyna in this game was there for the picking, because in the Bundesliga, he has that extra bit of quality, that vision, that technical ability to unlock England and the composure in the final third to put the game to bed.
All right, Nigel, let's get into the English here. Obviously, England played for the tie. That was a smart strategy from them, says Patrick. But realistically, what is the reaction going to be like towards these English players? I mean, what is the positive to take from that performance right there for Gareth Southgate? And who's the finger going to be pointed at? Is it the players that he put out there, or is it Southgate for the team selection, the lack of substitutions? And then when he brought on Jordan Henderson, I thought, I don't even know what on earth he's trying to play here. Is he going for a draw?
Listen, Ian, from some of the friends I was speaking to back in England, they're already hammering our Harry Kane and hammering Jordan Henderson substitution. This is going to fall solely on the feet on Gareth Southgate, because you've gone from one dynamic, free-flowing, attacking, letting them go out there and play against Iran, complete different opposition. Yes, he already said he respects USA, but he showed America way too much respect for the players that we've got. And I think that some of the players that started shouldn't have started. He knows this. It's tournament football. That game there was screaming out for Phil Foden to start. Why? Because at Manchester City, how does he play? He plays in that kind of environment, in tight midfield spaces, when it's overcrowded, great on the ball to get past players and be. He needed that ability on the pitch today. But again, I'm not defending England at all, because no matter what I say or how many times that the fans are commenting and wanting me to destroy them, they're going to get more destroyed than you can ever imagine in England right now, because now Gareth Southgate has put the magnifying glass back on himself, his selection, and the players, and it's going to be in England, that's not going to be seen as good enough. And that's not being disrespectful to USA, because the USA played well, they stayed in it, and they probably deserve to win that game. But for England, for the players that they have and the players they have off the bench to come on, that is not going to be seen as a good enough result.
Listen, they had some great chances, England, and their quality created those chances, but they absolutely looked rattled today, Lucho. What was it about England you think was missing, and where do you think they'll try to improve going from here on out? I mean, playing in big competitions, as you know well and truly, especially in World Cups, it's very difficult. You've got to strategically plan game for game for game, but whereabouts did you think in the field that maybe England could have done better and probably should have done better?
I think that you go for the game. I think the main thing about the big teams, and you've seen it when France got into the game, or with Brazil got into the game, or Argentina in the first 45 minutes. Spain, of course. When you have the amount of talent that you got in your squad, in the 11 starter and also on your bench, you have to go for it. You cannot be taking a point on these kind of moments, because you cannot switch on and off when you want. I mean, you cannot expect them to arrive to the third, and then listen, guys, now we need to switch on and then win, because you don't know what you're gonna face. You don't know if in the first minute you're gonna receive a red card. So for me, it was a little bit about England arriving to the game. Okay, I can give you those first 20 minutes. Of course, US is a very good team at the moment, organized. So you need to control to know what they're gonna do. But in the moment that you analyze the team, what are they doing? What is the plan? Then you have to go for it. You have to go and try. And if you haven't done enough in the first 60 minutes, change it and try to go for it. Like Nigel just mentioned, you go Rashford, you go Foden, you go players who can make something different from or make something. Or Grealish in the second half, it was even more less sharp than the first 60 minutes from Sterling, that he wasn't on the ball. So I was expecting a lot more, and I think that they need to focus on try to arrive to every single game. You have to win it. You can plan it on, listen, if we feel that we are being aroused and we have to be at the back, okay, let's hold this, control the game, and see if we can. But from the first moment, you have to go for it. You have to go and try to win the game.
Just a quick one, Ian, as well. Did you hear the boos at the end of the game?
Yeah.
And that's a 0-0 draw, but you heard the boos, right? And I'm sure it's not going to be from USA fans about the USA performance, but those boos were ringing loud, and that's from England fans. I'm telling you, it's only here, but watch what it's going to be like in England. They're going to get absolutely slaughtered.
I don't know. It might have been from the US fans. They wanted a goal in that game because they knew there was a goal out there in that game. Let's get to some of the comments coming in here. KY718 says Adams would have put Foden in his pocket. Old school Nigel Rio Coker days. Put him in his pocket there. Poor from England, says Smog. Richie Walker says, Nigel, just take the L. It's okay to admit it. Didn't you know what you were talking about with the US men's national team? Massimo Caprino, with England's World Cup expectations, this is definitely a poor result. They didn't create much chances. Luigi jumping in just a moment ago, saying this was arguably the most boring game in the World Cup so far. If I jump back a few of the comments ago, we've got a lot of people talking about, yet again, another 0-0 game in a World Cup here. Another 0-0. If I'm not mistaken, that's the 5th 0-0 game in this World Cup. Mike, I'm coming back to you about the US men's national team. It's only a point. They've only got 2 points in this group. They're still sitting in 3rd place. But going into this group stage, would you have taken... You're sitting in that final game, match day 3 against Iran. Yeah. If you beat them, you go through. Would you have taken that?
Absolutely. This is bringing back shades of 2010. I said it in the morning update, and I'll say it again. This was the sort of game that made you believe or disbelieve or have unbelief about this USMNT team. Are they for real, or are they just here to participate? To go up against a team that's in the top 5 in the world rankings in England. Is this England team in the best of form? Well, after that first game, we were all singing their praises. I will say this again. I am not completely sold about this England team at the World Cup. I think they have such a core of players who are not in the best of forms, and it's mixed with players who are in quality form, the likes of Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford is a player in form. Phil Foden has had a good season the last 2 seasons. If you want to be for real England, you need to put your best players on the field. For the U.S. men's national team, this is what you dream of if you are a player, a young player. You have one game that defines your World Cup legacy in your young history. And I think this is going to be all to play for against a very good Iran team. This is more of the Iran team that we expected going into the World Cup. Very disciplined, very explosive on the counter, and they have a lot of passion and emotion because of what's happening off the field.